Don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Where they at? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time, no matter where you are, wherever you may be. I really do appreciate it. On this edition, we're going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints and do they have a legit chance at making the playoffs by winning the NFC South. And we're also going to be taking some of your questions throughout the show. I really do appreciate everyone's time once again. Shouts out to everybody that's following into the chat. Shouts out to everybody that's listening, whether you're at work, at home, wherever you are, wherever you may be. But I wanted to go ahead and address this before we start the show. I was on social media on yesterday, and this is like one of the first times this actually happened to me. So it's kind of weird, but I just felt like, I had to kind of talk about it. Yesterday, I put out a clip of the episode that I did yesterday in regards to the Saints, game, giving my final thoughts about the victory over the Carolina Panthers. And, of course, I mentioned Derek Carr and some of the lingering injuries that he had throughout the season that's taken his toll, it seems. And, I gave my opinion about him possibly, sitting down, not trying to play through some of these injuries that he has and how it can be possibly hurting the team because you're limited. And, of course, you have a lot of Derek Carr supporters out there. They defend him, every chance that they get. But I have no problem with that. I'm not one of those people who just feels like they're right about every particular thing. I'm just a person that's giving my opinion. But unfortunately, sometimes you can see the worst in people. And one of the people that were actually tweeting me about that actually used some racial slurs, some racial epithets to describe me. And I was kind of taken back by it. I'm not going to lie to you. I know there's a lot of people out there that may not know me. A lot of people probably just feels like when they see me on social media, I'm just some strong, opinionated person just giving my opinion. And some of that is actually true. But one thing about me, I want people to understand is, every chance that I get behind this microphone in front of this camera, I try to give everything that I can. I try to provide really good content. And, when people say things like that, it just makes me, number one, shake my head. But number two, it also just speaks to the anger and, the hatred that people actually have. But I want to say this and make this very, very clear. I started this podcast back in 2018. I'm very proud of the work that I put in to make this podcast what it is. I was a person that started doing the podcast thing in my apartment closet. I couldn't even afford a webcam. I couldn't afford a recorder. Only thing I really had was a laptop and an iPhone 10. And I would record voice memos and I would post them and make a little slideshow. And that's how this show started. I went from that to going to the NFL Combine and the Senior Bowl and covering the Coastal Carolina Giants. I never, ever got any type of corporate backing. Everything that I do basically is independent, and I'm extremely proud of that. And as an African-American man, I'm even more proud of it because I'm inside of a business that is not very kind to people that look like me. So for all the people out there that think some of those thoughts and those feelings and those views about me are going to stop me from doing what I'm doing right now, you're sadly mistaken. You're sadly mistaken. It's not going to happen. I'm in this thing. I love sports. I love my hometown team, the New Orleans Saints, and just going to have to deal with it. And one thing that I know is that I'm good at what I do. I know that for a fact. So not going anywhere, going to continue to make great content, going to continue to work hard. And if you don't like it, I mean, there's always the unfollow button, or you don't even have to say anything at all. But I had to go ahead and address that. But let's go ahead and get into this whole topic of today, and that is the NFC South. Now, we all know that the NFC South is one of the worst divisions in all of football. I mean, it's no mistake here for a top division. Now, once upon a time, the NFC South used to be one of the best divisions in football. They used to consist of, quarterbacks that were league MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, countless playoff appearances. But over the last 2 to 3 years, this has been the basement when it comes to NFL football. And if you watch some of these teams play, you will see why. But fortunately for the New Orleans Saints, that they play in a division that is pretty terrible. You have the Falcons, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Saints both sitting at 6-7. And everybody has about 4 games left, if I'm not mistaken, to try to win this division. If you look at the New Orleans Saints, their next matchup is against the New York Giants. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the Atlanta Falcons' next opponent is the team that the Saints played this past weekend, which is the Carolina Panthers. And let me make sure that I'm saying this correctly when it comes to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Their next opponent is the Green Bay Packers, who lost to the New York Giants, the team that the Saints are going to be playing this weekend. So if you look at the teams that are, these NFC South foes are playing, Tampa playing the Packers, and you have the Falcons playing the Carolina Panthers, you have to give the advantage there to the Atlanta Falcons, which to me, this is a must win for the New Orleans Saints. Like, you have to beat the New York Giants. And I have to be honest with you, watching the New York Giants play against the Green Bay Packers on Monday night. And I know some people, making fun of quarterback Tommy DeVito, talking about Danny DeVito, calling him that. But if you watch that game on Monday night, Tommy DeVito does some things that have plagued the New Orleans Saints defense this entire season. His ability to be able to scramble and move around the pocket. And Brian Daboll, who is a really good offensive mind, I'm pretty sure that he understands that the Saints struggle with quarterbacks that can be able to scramble around. So to me, Dennis Allen is going to have to find a way to neutralize, I'm about to say Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito, and make sure that he stays in that pocket. And it also doesn't help your cause that I'm hearing that Darren Waller will more than likely be playing in this game. This is going to be a tough game for the New Orleans Saints. The New York Giants are a prideful football team. They won 3 out of their last 4 games. Tommy DeVito has been playing outstanding. One of the passes that he threw last night to the wide receiver, I mean, it was just absolutely incredible, man. Isaiah Hodges made a really good catch in the back of the end zone, but it was a really good throw. And also Tommy DeVito being able to, get the ball down the field in a no huddle situation when they were down by 1 to set up a Graham Gano field goal in order for them to win that football game. But here's the thing. The New Orleans Saints know what's at hand. I mean, they know that the last game that we saw, even though they won 28-6, there wasn't a lot of offense going on in that game. And, a lot of it had to do with the ineptitude of the Carolina Panthers. So the New Orleans Saints have opportunity to address these issues and try to win this football game. Look, every game going forward is a playoff game. Like, seriously, that's how you have to approach this. I know people are like, oh, it's 1-0. Like, you're 1-0. No, man, bump all that. Like, all those little, metaphors and all that kind of stuff has not helped you. Every game to me is a playoff game, and you have to win these football games. And the New Orleans Saints have been given olive branch after olive branch after olive branch when it comes to quarterbacks. They haven't played many elite quarterbacks or what people would consider elite all season. As a matter of fact, I could probably name maybe two guys that the New Orleans Saints have played that somebody, if you were actually starting a team, you would probably bring those two guys up. That's Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud. For the most part, I mean, you're playing pedestrian quarterbacks, and it's time for this defense to be able to step up and play a complete game. Kind of how they started at the beginning of the season before they seemed like they became frustrated with the offense and feel like it's been an uphill battle. The offense, to me, I think that they need to change some things around. It's pretty obvious that the coaching staff don't want to have the tough conversation with Derek Carr and let him know that you're limited right now. And honestly, some of the things that we need you to do, you really can't do at this particular point because you're really, concerned about self-preservation right now. I mean, you're thinking about that one hit that you can possibly get to knock you out completely, and you got to be able to get the ball out of his hands. I don't understand, going back watching this game, why the New Orleans Saints just completely just stopped running the ball consistently. Alvin Kamara was running the ball successful. Jamal Williams was running the ball successful. And I think that what the New Orleans Saints need to do is they need to rely on the running game. I don't know the status of Taysom Hill going into this game versus the Giants, but I think that you need to lean on the running game. I seen there were opportunities by the Packers on Monday night. I mean, you had A.J. Dillon, you had Taylor out there. Both of those guys were running the ball effectively. And I just think that if the New Orleans Saints want to win this football game, and you also want to try to preserve Derek Carr, you got to have a balanced attack. But to me, I just think that maybe you need to run the football, maybe set up the play action, because we see that by running a football, that play action worked. That was the reason why the Saints were able to have that 40-yard pass from Derek Carr to A.T. Perry, and why it was so successful. A.T. Perry was wide open because the Saints were running the ball effectively. So you want to run the ball as much as you possibly can, play a little bit of smash mouth football there, probably, control the clock and try to get the heck up out of there. And also, what you can understand is help is indeed on the way. Now, I know the Saints have been limited. You have some wide receivers that are down in Rashid Shaheed and Michael Thomas, but Rashid Shaheed is slowly starting to come back. He could, it was a kind of a questionable decision about him playing last week. Of course, he didn't play in the game. So I would expect for Rashid Shaheed, I would expect for Rashid Shaheed to actually play in this football game. And, and also in the next week, you will have, Michael Thomas coming back, because that will be 4 games. He was on IR, so he'll be able to be activated. And you would need Michael Thomas down the stretch. And also Marshawn Lattimore will possibly come off IR after, this last game versus the Giants. So if you can find a way to win this football game, you can have some reinforcements starting to come back. Maybe even have some help with the pass rush. I mean, this is around the time I didn't see the New Orleans Saints put Peyton Turner on IR, so maybe somebody like Peyton Turner would be able to come back and help on that defensive line. But all in all, you have to be able to win this game versus the Giants. This is the game where Pete Carmichael is going to have to call his best game. This is a game where the New Orleans Saints are going to have to focus on trying to neutralize Tommy DeVito, not get this dude confident in this game. And I also expect for New York Giant fans to be in this building. I know that they don't have a really good record, but Tommy DeVito is taking New York by storm. The fact that he is a local kid, played his high school championship game at East Rutherford, inside MetLife. So everybody is rallying behind this kid. All right. I mean, he is a phenomenon right now in the city of New York. In the state of New York, I'm saying, in New Jersey as well. So when I look at this, I expect for New York Giant fans to come out there and support this kid. And also, I just think that the New Orleans Saints are going to have to find ways to neutralize this guy, because it seems like he doesn't lack confidence. So you're going to have to hit this guy quite often in order for him to make some mistakes. He didn't play the best game ever, but he made the throws when it was necessary. and he definitely used his legs. And as the game went on, you can tell that this kid then wasn't short of confidence. So it's not a good thing that you're having a young kid that can make plays with his legs. It doesn't help that you have Darren Waller coming back. We know that the Saints have struggled going up against tight ends. So Darren Waller is one of the best out there, along with T.J. Hawkinson, Cole Kmet. I mean, the list goes on and on. So New Orleans Saints are going to have to find ways to try to neutralize this Giants team. And also, they're offensively innovative as well. So Dennis Allen is going to have to get that defense prepared if they want to be able to win this game. You can't win a division if you don't win the next game. So the Giants is the next game, and the New Orleans Saints, that is going to be a tough game for them. So hopefully they'll be able to get the job done. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments. Once again, I want to say thank you all for being here. And we'll go ahead and I'll scroll back up to the top a little bit. And we'll go with Derek. Derek says, shaking my head, that's messed up to do that just because of the difference of opinion. People too soft these days. I guess we're talking about the comments or whatever like that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Let's see. Saints have to win out and hope that Tampa loses to Green Bay. Well, look, I expect for Green Bay to play a little bit better. This wasn't Jordan Love's best game. I think it had a lot to do with the fact of the wind conditions in East Rutherford at that time. I'm gonna say last night if you're watching this live, Monday night if you're not. It seemed like Jordan Love was inaccurate. It seemed like he was, seemed like he was a little bit rattled throughout the game. I mean, towards the end, Jordan Love made a really good throw to Malik Heath to put them ahead, but it was up and down game for Jordan Love. So I expect for him to play a little bit better. I expect for the pass rush of the Green Bay Packers to be effective, but it's not going to be an easy game for the Packers. Look, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're a prideful football team. They play defense really well. And I know people don't think that, they're going to do anything or have done anything because Baker Mayfield is their quarterback. But, they've been in games. They haven't been blown out. They haven't really been embarrassed. They've been in the thick of it. So the Green Bay Packers playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that is not going to be an easy feat for the Green Bay Packers to knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I look at the Green Bay Packers. We're talking about playoff positioning here, right? It looks like the Detroit Lions, even though they lost to the Bears, they more than likely are going to win this division. So Green Bay is going to have to make it to the playoffs a different way. I mean, they already beat the New Orleans Saints. They didn't beat the Atlanta Falcons, but if they can beat Tampa, that is one team that they can actually jump in front of. And you will be relying on the strength of the NFC and NFC record going up against the Atlanta Falcons if the Atlanta Falcons don't win the division. But if the New Orleans Saints have to go toe-to-toe with these guys, then we know that Green Bay has the advantage because Green Bay beat the New Orleans Saints. So you're going to have to win out. I don't see too many scenarios for the New Orleans Saints winning this division without them winning out. I mean, it's that simple. Says Danny DeVito. Yeah, I mean, it's so everybody calling him Danny DeVito, even though I know the guy's name is Tommy DeVito. Everybody's calling him that, so it's kind of hard for you not to call him that. But his name is Tommy DeVito. I mean, Tommy D is in the building. Let's see. Question: do we really want to get to the playoffs? If we get to the playoffs, I think the Saints organization is not going to see we need change. Maybe it's just me thinking like this. Well, Leslie, that's a good point right there. I mean, I just feel like this, man. If I'm criticizing the Saints organization, I just be beating a dead horse right now. Excuse my French to all my animal lovers out there, but I just use that as an example because I mean it's pretty much a old saying there. But look, making it to the playoffs is the goal, right? I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that just want to see my team lose. Like I felt that way last year because I felt maybe the New Orleans Saints were a little bit more competent when it comes to making these decisions, realizing that Dennis Allen is not the answer. But it just seems to me like this organization really likes this dude. Like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what they're actually seeing that he's bringing to the table. It's definitely not wins. And if you look at this football team, I mean, it has been more division and more leaks than I've ever seen. Right? I never seen the New Orleans Saints organization be as leaky as a old faucet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is. It's bad, man. I mean, it don't seem like the chemistry is there. It seems like guys are playing. I think that you have some division in the locker room. I think that you have some guys that don't like one another, and I just honestly feel like this dude isn't the answer. But it just seems like they're adamant on bringing this guy back. I don't see any signs of any signs that are saying that they won't bring him back. The only thing I would honestly say is they're probably not going to bring back Pete Carmichael. And even with that, it's probably going to be Pete Carmichael stepping down. Like, it's going to be like one of those particular situations there. But the Saints definitely need a little bit of a change. And I honestly feel like even if they do make the playoffs, even if they didn't make the playoffs, I still feel they would bring this dude back because it's just something about Dennis Allen that they like. I honestly don't know what it is. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm not in a locker room. I don't know him like that. But it just seems like to me, like, he's not the answer. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, I still feel like they'll bring him back. If they do make the playoffs, they definitely gonna bring him back. If I'm doing percentages here, I would say it's probably a 75-80% chance, probably even higher than that they'll bring back Dennis Allen. Because Mickey Loomis, to me, it just seems like he just okay with the direction the team is going in, which I don't see it. Like, I don't see what he's talking about here. Like, he's talking about the team being 12th in total offense and stuff like that, but you're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of those yards are basically like empty calorie yards. It's mostly because your defense struggles in the first half, and now your offense has to throw themselves back into a football game. So a lot of that is a bunch of just empty calorie yards that don't mean anything. So how are you evaluating the team based on total offense when most of the time those yards are garbage time yards when they're trying to throw themselves back into the game? But I digress. Derek says, to me, the only way we're going to the playoffs is win out, because if they don't, then they got to rely on the other teams to lose. Yeah, I mean, look, you control your own destiny right now. If you're in a three-way tie, you control your own destiny. And the one thing that works for the New Orleans Saints is the fact that they play both of these teams down the stretch. You got to play Tampa and Raymond James, and you got to play the Falcons on the last game of the season inside of the Superdome. Now, we know that the Superdome does not provide a home field advantage. And honestly, it's not really going to be a home field advantage because you got Saints fans that are disgusted right now. Like, they don't care. Like, they don't care about the Saints beating Carolina. They don't care about the New Orleans Saints having a chance to win the division. Like, people have checked out. So for me, I just think that going forward, until some changes or significant changes are made, you're probably going to have a large influx of opponents, fans inside of the stadium. And it don't seem like it don't really matter to the Saints that much. So Saints fans are going to continue to, show in solidarity that they will not take mediocrity. And if the Saints want to continue to go down this road, they're jeopardizing losing the support of the fan base. I mean, what matters more, right? You trying to feed your ego and trying to prove that you're right about something, or trying to do what the fans want you to do. We'll see as time goes on. Let's see. This says, black people, we are living with this foolishness. Everybody just said not being treated equally. Well, look, I'm not going to, just allow one person to define, others. There's some people out there that may have that mind frame, and we talked about that on this show. You got people out here because the whole conversation, for those that just tuned in, unfortunately, someone decided to use some racial epithets towards me yesterday during a episode of the podcast. I put out a clip of a little bit of the podcast on yesterday, but you do have individuals out there that feel that. I mean, honestly, let's just call a spade a spade. You got people out there that look at the whole Jameis Winston, Derek Carr situation as a black and white thing, right? And a lot of people out there, I won't say a lot, but there's some people out there that just don't want to support Jameis for the simple fact that he is African American. And it was basically, to me, it was like someone saying that I'm just supporting Jameis Winston, and my my gripe about Derek Carr is because he's white, and I want Jameis Winston to start because he's a black man and I'm a black man. But I'm not really concerned about that, because you have people out here, that watch every podcast that I do. And you can easily go back and rewind and see that I have been on record saying that I don't think Derek Carr, neither Jameis Winston, is the answer when it comes to the future of this football team. So that doesn't bother me. It's just the fact that, some people like to use, certain situations like Jameis Winston being African American and playing quarterback to basically try to hide behind their own like personal feelings and views towards African Americans. That's one thing that bothers me. Like when people try to use like certain situations, to try to mask their true feelings about something. It gives them ammunition, to spew hate, right? But they're trying to make it seem like, oh well, I'm just talking about football. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're basically just trying to make this bigger. You're trying to make this about a racial thing without, trying to expose who you really are. But if you read between the lines, you can actually see that. So, and that's what happened yesterday. But all in all, I'm not, worried about what those people, think about me and what I'm doing and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, like, it really don't bother me, because I know who I am as a person. I know how hard I work to make this podcast what it is. And, I also find it funny that, a lot of people that end up finding this podcast, it kind of, happened maybe a couple months ago. There was exchange between me and Nick Underhill, and people were saying, well, I was stealing Nick Underhill's stuff and all that. I'm like, I just found that extremely funny, because all due respect to Nick Underhill and all the work that he does, anybody that watches me knows that I don't need to bite off anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to consider myself being extremely creative on my own right. You know what I'm saying? So, people going to say different things, and they when they don't understand something, they become critical, and I get it, but it's not going to stop me from being who I am. It's not going to stop my love for what I'm doing. I like to consider myself as the person that, shouldn't be in the building. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the things that have happened for me in 2023, has no business really happening. If you look at, me not having, like I said, any corporate backing, nobody like when I go to different places, it's basically on my own dime. You know what I'm saying? I just get the opportunities to do it. So I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed that, I got behind this microphone and I carved out a lane for myself. Not a lot of people can say that. I didn't really do it the conventional way, which is, getting internships and just kind of building up that ladder. You know what I'm saying? I created my own lane, and I'm proud of it. I'm definitely proud of it. And I'm not going to let some people that don't know me define that. But let me stroll down a little bit. Let's see. I think our players and fans saw the schedule and thought it was going to be a cakewalk this year. We all let our guard down. Infamous. I guess you're saying infamous. I like how you did that. Infamous. I want to say this. It should be easy. Like It should be easy. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend, and neither should you. This should have been more simplistic than the Saints made it out to be. Now, I understand on any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. Like, it don't matter how trash you are. We just saw that a red hot Miami Dolphins team lost to the Tennessee Titans, a team I want to say they were like 5-8 or something like that, something on those lines. But they didn't have a good record, right? But they went out there and they beat the Miami Dolphins, a team that was atop of the AFC, like one of the top 2, top 3 seeds there. So anybody can beat anyone on any given Sunday. But here's the reality: the Saints weren't losing because, these teams were just dominating them. I mean, I guess you can say the Tampa game, Minnesota, and Detroit. Those are like 3 games, 3 instances I can use. But for the most part, a lot of the losses was because the Saints got out coached. They were unprepared and they got slapped in the mouth very early in the game. And then once they decided to get themselves together, it was a little bit too late. And you cannot afford to give a good football team a 2-touchdown lead, a 3-touchdown lead, and expect for them to lose a football game, because they have really smart coaches on their staff. They, even if they're not the best coaches in the world, they know how to maintain a lead, unless you're Dennis Allen up by 17 in the fourth quarter. But that goes to show you what I'm saying. Like, a lot of times it was because they got out coached. This is one of those situations. If the Saints had better coaching, there's no way in the world the Saints would be 6-7 right now. If the Saints had Sean Payton as their head coach, this division would have been already sold up. And we've seen this before, right? Y'all remember a couple of years ago when the Saints actually sold up the division on Thanksgiving after they beat the Falcons? Like, we've seen that, right? It would have been one of those situations if the Saints had some competent coaching. We know it, I know it, and you know it. So I'm not gonna just sit up here and make excuses. Yes, those teams play hard. Yes, those are prideful football teams. And yes, they're not just going to lay down for you because they got backup quarterbacks or quarterbacks that have no real chance of being a legitimate starter in the future. But, at the end of the day, like, it's about coaching to me. The Saints are in a position right now, and the reason why they're not successful is because of coaching. The coaching has let this team down. And I don't want anybody to shy away from this. Like, we basically have to warp our judgment or warp our sense of fandom because of this team. You got people out here that are questioning this football team, that are feeling like it's like pulling teeth watching this team on Sunday. This is what this coaching staff has done to Saints fans. And we shouldn't take that for granted. So I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, it's going to be a cakewalk, because it should have. It should have been a cakewalk. If the Saints would have been offensively prepared and defensively prepared, this division would have been over already. We would have been talking about the Saints trying to get the number 1 or the number 2 seed. We would have been watching the Eagles and Dallas Cowboys game real close, because we would have had some type of benefit based on who would have won and who would have lost. Y'all remember those days, man, watching Green Bay, watching them play against Detroit, watching them play against Minnesota, hoping that they slip up. But now it's like we just watch football because we're fans. And it's because of this coaching staff. Like, we're not watching football because we have an invested interest for our team. We're watching football because we loved NFL. And also, we're watching it because we want to know what organized, good coaching, and good teams look like, right? You know what I'm saying? Watching the Saints fumble all over themselves week after week is not a good look. It's not a good feeling. Like, we watch them because we were fans of them and we support the team, but we're watching, Baltimore. We're watching Philadelphia, even though they've been playing pretty bad lately. I mean, still, they're a good football team. We're watching the 49ers. We're watching other teams do it the right way, right? Just to try to, get the bad taste of mediocre football out of our mouths, watching Saints football at 1 p.m. or 12 Central, if you're, on Central Standard Time. But it's not good football that we're watching. Let's make no mistake about it. TJ, last time I checked, you supported Drew Brees, and last time I checked, he is not African American. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not one of those people that sit up here and just going to say, okay, man, just because, guy is African American, I'm just going, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, as a black man, I'm not like, don't take it for granted. Don't get it twisted. Um, as an African American man, I am proud to watch, young African American, quarterbacks play football. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up during a time when you didn't really have too many black quarterbacks. Like you used to have like Randall Cunningham in the 90s, Cardell Stewart. But a lot of times, people weren't giving black quarterbacks opportunities because they still had their mind frame, oh, it's a thinking position and they're not smart enough. But, watching Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, for better or for worse, Deshaun Watson, you know what I'm saying, like Jameis Winston, like watching some of these African-American guys play the quarterback position and do a good job doing it, yes, I am proud. But I'm not going to just sit up here and if the guy isn't, as African American, is not better than the white quarterback, I'm not going to just sit up there and just say, oh man, I want him to play, because that's just not the way to go. I want the best quarterback to play. I don't care what color he is. I don't care if he's black, white, blue like Skeeter Valentine. I don't care. But like I said, do I have a sense of pride watching African American quarterbacks play the game? Growing up, watching how these guys used to not get opportunities because of the color of their skin? Absolutely. But that's not the reason why, I want Jameis Winston to play over Derek Carr. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's black. It has everything to do with the fact that Derek Carr is injured. He's playing injured, and his injuries are hindering him, because you can tell by watching him. I went back and I watched the game, and it's pretty obvious that Derek Carr is on is on self-preservation mode right now. Like, he is trying to take care of himself. And you can tell, like, in the back of his mind, he understands how badly damaged and beat up he is. And he knows he might be one play away from being out completely. And that's just not a good thing. And I don't even blame Derek Carr. Like, I blame the coaching staff for not having the balls to tell this dude, like, man, we gonna need you down the stretch. You're hurting a football team. Like, you're hurting a football team, and you're hurting yourself in the process. And also, I just feel like you're honestly not doing yourself a service, because people are scrutinizing you and they're evaluating you based on your play. And how fair is that for you to take that type of scrutiny when you know good and god doggone well that you're not good enough to play? That's the only reason I'm saying this. You're not helping a team. You're not going, like, the biggest Derek Carr fan is not going to convince me that a 55, 60% Derek Carr is better than 100% Jameis Winston. You're not. And to me, I just feel like you can't tell me, as a Saints fan, as a person that commentates and writes, about this team, you're not going to convince me that you're putting the team in the best position to succeed. You're not. You're not, because you're not having this tough conversation with Derek Carr, and you're not really looking out for him. You can tell, like, you can tell that the New Orleans Saints, I mean, they're not having these type of conversations with Derek Carr. They're just not. And to me, I just think that he's hurting himself more because people are already mad because of his behavior. Some people consider him, as the locker room cancer, and you're not going to change people's mind. But one thing that can change people's mind about you, if you play well. But you can't play well because you're hurt. That's my whole stance about it. Like, it's about him being hurt more so than, not wanting him to play. And I already said it. I'm on record saying this too. Like, I don't think that Derek Carr is as bad as he's showing. I think it has a lot to do with the coaching staff. You put a better offensive-minded coach around Derek Carr, he's going to play better. I just don't think Derek Carr is one of those guys who the Saints thought he was, which is an elite quarterback that can see the field and make everybody better around him. Like, I think that he needs pieces around him to succeed, and he also needs a wrangler, somebody that's going to reel him in and help him see the field. So to me, I just think that the Saints thought that they had something like a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, a guy that can kind of, see the field, put guys in a position to succeed, and take, minimal talent and make it work. But he's not that type of quarterback. And I think that's what we're actually seeing. Vito says, I was Nick and TJ. I do not get similar vibes. At the end of the day, there is only so much you can talk about within the Saints per day. Keep doing your thing. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't look, I don't like no disrespect to anybody, but I don't even really watch too many podcasts like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't want my opinions to kind of coincide with anybody else's. Like, even when the only person I can really truly say, and no disrespect to anybody, I mean, I watch everybody, but I don't watch them to a point where I feel like, you know what I'm saying, their thoughts and their views are seep into mine. And I just purposely do that because I don't want to get anything twisted. Like, the only person I watch consistently is Matt Moscona. Matt Moscona is a little bit different because Matt is Matt is like a conversationalist. Like, he's one of those people, like he has mastered the art of storytelling and the type of conversation where you're sitting down talking to somebody like they're in the room with you. And I just like listening to him. Like, he's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like therapeutic listening to Matt Moscona. But I don't really listen to New Orleans football like that. I don't. Like, not the fact that I got anything against Nick Underhill or anything like that. I just, like I said, he has like a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? Of course, like, the information that he puts out there, I read, you know what I'm saying, as far as that. But I try to shy away from videos where, people are giving, their opinions, because I don't want it to seep into what I'm actually doing. And honestly, I just feel like there's only one me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that, I mean, I don't script this show. I don't do anything. Like, basically, I just turn the camera on, or, turn the microphone on, and I just start talking. Because the show, I mean, and honestly, it's basically impossible for me to even follow anybody else's format, because for the most part, you all control the show. Because I give my opening dialogue, then of course I read the chat. So I don't know what you all are saying. So I can't like script the show anyway, because I don't know what direction it might go in. We might start off, if you're new to the show, we might start off talking about, the Saints winning NFC South. Then we might transition to talk about Dennis Allen. Then we might end up talking about a staple in New Orleans when I was growing up, or when other people were growing up. Like, you can't script this type of stuff. And then on top of that, like I said, I like to consider myself being pretty creative, with some of the music parodies and stuff like that. I try to do that for people to enjoy. So I don't try to be like anybody else. And like I said, I purposely, try to limit, the amount of, Saints personalities I watch, especially like when I'm about to approach this show. And like I said, like towards the end, I'll probably catch up towards the end of the week. When I know I'm not doing shows, I'll probably check some people out. But I purposely do that. I purposely do that because I don't want my opinions and my views to sound similar to somebody else's. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but that's just the way that I roll. It's almost like, I remember Lil Wayne was they was interviewing Lil Wayne, and they asked him who he listened to, and he said, I don't really listen to too many people. He said, because that kind of affects my creativity, and it can. Like you want to, like, to me, for all my podcasters out there, for people that are doing podcasts, if you want to be authentic, like, try to, do things your own way. Like, you want to research and of course, like, look at the games and examine it, but you also want to put your own little spin on it. You know what I'm saying? That can make it authentically yours. Because if you don't, then you're basically a spinoff of somebody else. And who wants to be that? Especially when you're trying to create something. Let's see. Facts. 3 broke ribs, concussion, and shoulder injuries is the reason that Winston needs to start. Yeah, I mean, look, Winston had issues in his back, and he still was able to dress, but they still brought out Andy Dalton. So This guy has an AC joint, broken ribs, 2 concussions, and you still got him out here playing. Like, to me, like, that just shows you how weak this organization is from the coaching perspective. Like no coach is going to have a able body former starting quarterback who has had over 50 starts in the NFL, have him sitting on the bench and have to parade this guy out. Like, there's like really no use for Dennis Allen to try to justify anything when it comes to Jameis Winston, like why Jameis Winston ain't playing, why Jameis Winston taking a knee. And he gave like an explanation about that. I want to say Ross, tweeted that. Shouts out to Ross Jackson. But I think he tweeted that. But look, I'm not buying that. Like, that's a lie. Like I don't believe anything that comes out of Dennis Allen's mouth for the most part. Dennis Allen is about damage control. But the thing about it is, the stuff is so ridiculous that nobody buys it. Like, you're not going to tell me that you didn't bring Jameis Winston out there because people were chanting his name. And during the time, I want to say the Saints were up 14-6 during that time when, Derek Carr just seemed like he just could not move the football, and people were chanting they wanted Jameis. And then, of course, you had 2 4-and-outs by the Carolina Panthers, gave the New Orleans Saints short fields, and Derek Carr was able to punch it in. And then at the end, of course, the game was 28-6. So you're going to bring out Jameis Winston. That was a shot at the fans. I don't know if it was Derek Carr who just said, let Jameis go out there, or it was the decision of Dennis Allen. To me, I feel like it was more Derek Carr doing that. Probably, I really feel that way. Probably out of spite because, people were booing him throughout the game and also chanting they wanted Jameis. So that was kind of like a way of saying, okay, you want Jameis? Well, here you go. Let him go out there and take a knee on victory formation because I helped the team win. Like, that's what that was. Like, you're not going to convince me otherwise. Don't waste my time. Like, let's just move on from it. Like, don't try to insult the intelligence of the Who Dat Nation because it just didn't make any sense. For the most part, if a team has a starting quarterback and he plays well, you'll have him go out there and take a knee, and that'll be the end of it. I mean, the only time I ever really seen that when Drew Brees was the quarterback is when a game was just so insurmountable and they just allow like Teddy Bridgewater or Jameis Winston to come into the game with a few ticks left, and they'll probably hand the ball off a couple times. But that wasn't the case. I mean, Derek Carr was still out there throwing the football around, and then the last possession, all of a sudden, you can't come out there to take a knee. I just find that very, very weird. Like, that was a shot at the fans. And I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to convince me otherwise. You can give me that politically correct answer, all that nonsense, but we all know the truth. All that had everything to do with the fact that fans were, clamoring for Jameis Winston, and that was just kind of like a little petty shot at the fans for chanting Jameis' name. Linda says, TJ, you don't have time for nothing else. You got hands full of cleaning up what DA messed up. Look, man, all I know is Dennis Allen. I know Dennis Allen watches. He gotta watch this podcast, or somebody has to be telling him about the things that are going on, because if you notice, he's not saying they got some things we got to clean up as often. Like, and I know, and it's become like almost like a little nervous tick, because now he's like stopping himself from saying it and rephrasing it a different way. Like, he'll say, "Is some things we gotta." He'll say, like, he'll stop himself and say, "They got some things we need to work on." So I don't know if somebody like told him that, or he probably saw that people are like making fun of him, saying, "Oh, there's some things you got to clean up." So he's, if you notice, like he's stopped saying it as much. So somebody told him about that, because look, if they didn't, then he like it was so like cliche, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just part of his vocabulary. And then all of a sudden, like now it just seems like he is trying to be adamant and stop saying that phrase. So somebody watches this show, or somebody somebody told him about that, because now you can tell like he's doing everything in his power not to say that phrase anymore. Putting Winston in at the end of the game, why I unsubscribe to everything Saints. Well, look, I wouldn't unsubscribe to everything that Saints, because I mean, you still, you still got some really good people over there, that work there. Shouts out to Erin. She does a really good job over there. She's been on the show, and she's a wonderful person. John DeShazer, JD, man. Shouts out to John DeShazer. JD, if you're watching this, man, thank you so much for everything that you do, man. Much love to you. And, everybody knows, JD's, fighting and everything like that, and he has going on. So, I mean, look, those are the people that I support. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that's running that New Orleans Saints YouTube channel. Those are the people that that I'm looking at. You know what I'm saying? Like what goes on with the team, it's one thing. But man, you got people over there that they're busting their tail. You know what I'm saying? Like going out there, putting the cameras on some of these players, getting this behind the scene content. So man, I'm not like don't unsubscribe to that, because you got some young interns working up in there. You got some production team people. They're trying to feed their families, and like I said, JD and Aaron, they do a really good job over there. So those are the people that you're supporting on that YouTube channel. Aaron Summers and JD with that. So I would say don't unsubscribe to the channel, right? I mean, still support them. So true. He cleaned, he cleaned up the ums. Yeah. If you notice, like you say, it's some things I just got to work on. Like he catches himself before he says, there's some things I got to clean up. Says TJ, I can't hear you on YouTube, but when I listen to you on Facebook, I can hear you better. I don't know why. I mean, I never heard that before. And usually like people kind of keep me, they kind of keep me lined up, if you will, when it comes to like some of the mistakes, if they can't hear me or something like that. But I apologize, man. I can't explain that one. Let's say TJ, if they bring DA back, they're going to lose a lot of money. Season ticket holders plus revenue will drop from tickets not fans in the stadium. Saints merchandise will also drop. Look, we all know that billionaires, they are arrogant people. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't saying every billionaire is arrogant. I ain't never met every billionaire. Very few billionaires I actually met. But look, the only way that you can really hurt a billionaire is to mess with their bottom line. And if Saints fans really want to create change, that is what they're going to have to do. But I will say this though. I have a real big issue with, the organization and people talking about, oh, Saints fans shouldn't boo the team, and oh, you know what I'm saying, they shouldn't boo what they booing for, and all this. Like, let me help people understand something, right? When these players leave the field, they get into their nice, expensive cars. They drive to their gated communities, and they get into their beautiful, luxurious homes. You know what I'm saying? With everything at their disposal, can hop on a jet, go anywhere that they want to. For the average Joe six-pack out there, this person or the Jane six-pack, they're spending their hard-earned money. Like they're making legitimate sacrifices to come to these football games. They are doing whatever they can to show their support. And these players sometimes, like, they don't have to make some of these decisions that people are making. So when people feel like they're not getting the best product, they're thinking about the sacrifices that they're making in order for them to go to these games. So for people to say, oh, fans shouldn't be mad, they shouldn't boo the team, yes, they should. First off, we all know that this team is underperforming. If this team was just god-awful, we already established the fact that this team was god-awful. We already just said, okay, man, this is just not our year. But you gas the team up. Like, you gas fans up. You gas fans up all season. Oh, we bringing in Derek Carr. Oh, we're not rebuilding. Oh, we got a really favorable schedule. Oh, if we go out here with Derek Carr, we're gonna win some football games. This defense, the way that they playing, oh man, we're gonna be unstoppable. You gas people up, making people believe this stuff. People out here buying tickets, season tickets, going to training camp, sitting out in that hot sun with 100% humidity because they believe that this team has a possibility of making it into the playoffs, making a deep run, and making a possible Super Bowl run. And the best that y'all can do is give them a mediocre coach who can't win no matter what the circumstances is. But we're supposed to sit up there and support this team and cheer to the top of our lungs, knowing that this team is going to let us down because the coaching staff is not good enough to get the best out of these players. Somebody make that, like, there's no way in life, there's nothing in life that anybody would ever do any of this in their actual lives. If you know somebody means no good to you, are you going to continue to support them? If a person tells you that they love you and they don't come home at night, if they tell you that they love you and they don't support anything that you got going, if a person say they committed to you, but every chance that they get, you see them running around with somebody else, are you going to have that same level of energy towards that person, towards that thing? Absolutely not. So for anybody to say, oh, y'all shouldn't boo the team. Yes, you should. You should. Because people are tired. People are frustrated. And people ain't got this type of money to be burning. Like, people work every day. People dedicate themselves to this football team. They don't have to do that. But they do it because they love this football team. And the worst thing and the worst feeling in the world is for you to love something and it don't love you back. And that is what Saints fans feel like. That is what they feel like. They love this football team. They want to see this team do well. They want to support this team. But this team ain't loving them back because this team isn't doing what is best for them. And once again, when a person shows you that they don't have your best interests at heart, it's best for you to adjust accordingly. That's anything in life. What the Saints and what people are asking of Saints fans is to do something that is not a part of the natural order of life. I'm not going to sit up here and support you when you're not giving me the best. Oh, we trying hard. No, like, y'all may be trying hard, but y'all not doing what's best. Doing what's best is when you had red zone struggles and you had Jimmy Graham on your football team, you wouldn't have him as a healthy scratch every single week because you want to appease Foster Monroe and Juwan Johnson. Doing what's best for the team is not, waiting to utilize Alvin Kamara in exotic ways or using Taysom Hill and more so in the offensive packages in the backfield. Doing all these other things, right? Like showing that you support fans is by making the tough decisions, by adjusting accordingly, by going out there and making coaching changes when it comes to like the offense. Knowing that you have a lame duck coach, and instead of you going on local radio, pissing off fans, telling them stuff that you know for a fact ain't true, but trying to put it out there as if it is. If you love the fans, you wouldn't do that. So that's a lie. Once again, what the Saints are asking of people, what some people or personalities are asking people, is to do something that is not a part of the natural order of life. Nobody is going to just sit up there and allow somebody to misuse them if they have any level of pride in themselves or dignity. I mean, not some people, you know what I'm saying? Like they choose to have Stockholm syndrome, but in this case, Saints fans choose not to have it. So that's the way I feel about it. Like, if you want people to cheer, give them something to cheer about. TJ, let me chime in, bro. Let me explain what you just said, bro. This is the worst display of football in a long time, dick of years. Yeah. Let's see. Right, TJ, says Linda. And Nisi says Louisiana is one of the poorest states in the country. So to go to an NFL game is a real financial decision. It's gutting to spend 150 plus on a ticket only for the team to sleepwalk through games. Yeah, look, I don't look if you paid $150 and the Saints lose, but it was a valiant effort. Like some of the games where they played against like the 49ers, the left in heartbreak. You know what I'm saying? It's like some of the games like the Indianapolis Colts with Drew Brees basically were virtually perfect, right? I mean, it was worth every penny, right? Because even though in the case of the 49ers, the Saints lost, they still put up a tough effort. When it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, Drew Brees was willing and dealing that day. So people just want to see a product that they can actually buy into, that they can believe that the team have a chance to win it. I never went this long feeling like the Saints aren't going to win a football game. Like usually it's like, okay, man, this team is pretty good. I don't know if they're going to win today, but it was like few and far in between. Now it's like it seemed like it's the same thing every week. Like, man, I don't think they're gonna win. I don't think they're gonna win. You know, like that's kind of like how you feel like every single week. So nobody wants to feel like that all the time. Let's see. Doug Williams was a black quarterback I remember growing up. Yeah, Doug Williams, man, former Grambling State Tiger quarterback, got drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And honestly, man, was dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to an NFC Championship game back in the early 80s. And then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, the way he was mistreated, he stopped playing football for like 2 years until Joe Gibbs, the coach of the Washington then Redskins, asked him to come back. And of course, we know the rest is history, man. He was the Super Bowl MVP, of that game. He cemented his legacy, you know what I'm saying? First African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, but Doug Williams, that was a little bit before my time. Like, even though I know about the history of Doug Williams, I mean, I was too young to appreciate that. I was born in 1986. Let's see, State of Saints podcast. TJ, I think Cannon McGee wants you to put the link in the chat to call in. Well, I'm not going to take any calls today. I'm actually short of time. Like right now it's 1:41 Eastern Standard Time. So probably in the next few minutes I gotta leave. Well, not probably. In the next few minutes I gotta leave out and go pick Paxton up from school. So I can't really take any calls right now. I'm about to end the show in the next few minutes. But I'll try to see the next show that I do. I'll try to answer some calls on the next show. Says these guys should never have made 4 tight ends, instead putting more emphasis on the defensive line. Yeah, I mean, I think that they need to address pass rush. And this is what I'm afraid of, folks. Like, I'm just telling you, strap in. You know what I mean? I feel bad for a lot of these folk out here that just think that the Saints are just going to get Jaden Daniels and the rest of them. Man, bruh. I don't know. I don't know what organization y'all watching, but I'm telling y'all, like, this team is committed to Derek Carr, like for better or for worse. And he's not going anywhere. So the only way I see the Saints drafting a quarterback, this is the only way, folks, is Dennis Allen gets fired at the end of the season. That's the only way I see the New Orleans Saints drafting a quarterback, because you know for a fact that the next coach that's going to come in, he's going to want the quarterback that is going to, that he wants to be tied to him. Now, he'll probably start off with Derek Carr as his quarterback until the young guy develops, and for example, Jaden Daniels or something like that. But if Dennis Allen is the head coach of the New Orleans Saints in 2024, they getting a pass rush in the first round. And he gonna have a lot of Saints fans upset. I'm telling y'all right now. There's no way. There's no way I see Dennis Allen being a head coach and him being so like committed to Derek Carr. The fact that, like they just lock and step. And I don't see it. That's the only way I see the New Orleans Saints drafting a quarterback. If Dennis Allen is gone. If Dennis Allen gets fired, if Dennis Allen is no longer the head coach of the team, I think the Saints don't get a quarterback. Because to me, because here's the thing. If the New Orleans Saints end the season, like right now, what they 6-7, right? So if they don't make the playoffs, let's just say, for example, they go 7-10 or 8-9 or something like that, right? You still like picking in the middle of the first round. Like it's and to me, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not as appealing. Right. So it's more than likely, like if Dennis Allen is still with the New Orleans Saints, they're gonna end up getting a pass rush. But if the New Orleans Saints maybe go like 7-10, you're picking like 12 or 13, you might try to, move up a little bit where you can actually draft the quarterback, and you can, that's probably what a new head coach would want to do. But to me, they're not drafting a quarterback unless Dennis Allen is no longer their coach. If Dennis Allen the head coach, you might as well go on, I'm gonna go on record. They probably end up getting that pass rush from Florida State. That's who they're gonna end up getting. I'm just telling y'all, be prepared. I wouldn't be mad if the Saints get pass rush from FSU. Yep, that's who I think they're gonna get. That's who I think they're gonna end up getting. I think he's a legit game record. Like I think they're gonna end up getting a pass rush, which they like. I couldn't even get mad if they do. Like, I couldn't even get mad if they end up like getting, a pass rusher in the first round because they need one. I don't want DA to draft a quarterback, wait until he leaves. That's what's going to end up happening. LSU quarterback is possible to be number one pick. Man, ain't no way. Melvin, I'm sorry. Like, that ain't happening. I like Jaden Daniels as well as the next man, but ain't nobody is going to draft him over Caleb Williams. Like, they're not. Like, Caleb Williams' arm talent is just too good. And the comparisons to Patrick Mahomes got owners and GMs salivating at the mouth. Like, Caleb Williams is the lock for the number one overall pick. I don't care what Jaden Daniels won. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels won't be a top 10, a top 10 pick, but he will not be the number one overall pick. He will not be. I like him, but let's just be honest about this. That is not happening. That is not happening. He is not going to go before Caleb Williams. Let's see. They could, but they're not because of, let me see, coaching, quarterbacks, and execution issues. Well, let's see. Verse the real one. Let's see. I would draft the tight end from Georgia. Talking about Brock Bowers. Well, I think we've already established they got too many tight ends to begin with. And to me, like, that would be the last thing that I would be interested in if I'm the New Orleans Saints, is drafting a tight end. Like, I just think that they need help when it comes to pass rush. I mean, Saints are like at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to rushing a quarterback in team sacks. So you need somebody that's going to be able to generate some sacks that are going to give you double-digit sacks each year, because, Cam Jordan's career is winding down. And you have Carl Granderson, but, Carl Granderson, I mean, he's solid, but he ain't like a game wrecker. He's not like a game-wrecking pass rush. Let's see. Falcons are just a quarterback away from being dangerous, aside from ditching the coaches too. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. The crazy thing about it is both Saints and Falcons have kind of the same similar situation. Like, both fan bases feel like if they get rid of the coaches, they got a team that can be successful. If they get another quarterback, they'll probably be successful. But the thing about it is, I feel like when it comes to the Falcons, if you get yourself another quarterback, a young quarterback, you still got to count on him to develop. So if the Saints actually get a coach that can actually help Derek Carr, that can kind of help the Saints be ahead of the curve here. So at least until the Falcons quarterbacks start to develop and be dangerous, unless he ends up out the gate looking like CJ Stroud, which you have a really good chance of a quarterback actually hitting the ground running this year, because it's supposed to be a really deep draft when it comes to the quarterback. And honestly, you got to take into account too, like, it's not a guarantee that the Bears aren't in the business of negotiating that number one pick, especially if they feel like they can be, if they committed to Justin Fields. If they committed to Justin Fields, then, who's to say, the Atlanta Falcons, if they don't make the playoffs or something, that they can call up the Chicago Bears and, I don't know, we'll give you Kyle Pitts and, or even, what I'm saying, like, I don't know, give you Drake London or something like that, like for the number one overall pick. Like, give you our first round pick and Drake London, or our first round pick, or, offensive lineman or something like that, or AJ Terrell. Like, who's to say, like, Atlanta couldn't do that? And if they do that, let's just say, for example, if they can get Caleb Williams. Like, this is Terry Fontenot we talking about here. Like, Terry Fontenot, he came from the New Orleans Saints front office. Like, Jeff Ireland and all, where Jeff Ireland and Mickey Loomis. I mean, we know that the Saints aren't afraid to move up and negotiate. So who's to say that? I'm just saying, like, that would be, man, that would be the worst. But we seen Carolina do it. I mean, it didn't work out for him because Bryce Young has not looked good, but, who's to say? Justin Fields may be Chicago's choice. Everybody's just assuming that they're going to get rid of Justin Fields. That ain't the case. That ain't the case. Like, just as you can see, Justin Fields playing pretty well. So, Tim, thank you very much for the $2. Says, after watching DeVito last night, the answer is no. Guess you talking about them making the playoffs. To finish what I was saying and win it all, our team is the only I see. Let's trade Carr and DA for a Big Mac. I don't even think you're gonna get a Big Mac with that, the way they playing right now and the way they coaching. TJ, would you trade for Fields? I would, but at this point, no, I wouldn't, right? Because what the Saints are facing right now, the only way that that can be solved is they're going to have to do that by building through the draft. Like, to me, I don't feel like the Saints should be looking to, trade for a player, surrendering draft picks and all that. Like, I don't feel like that's the case. I think what made the Saints a contender was them drafting well, like, for like a 3-year span, right? In 2016, they had Michael Thomas, right? And then, of course, we know about the classic 2017 class. And then back in 2018, you had Eric McCoy and C.D. Deuce. So it was 3 years where you had productive draft picks, right? And that helped the New Orleans Saints be a legit contender for, 3-4 years after that. So I feel like the hole that the Saints are in, the lack of pass rush, quarterback, play, or the future of the quarterback position, I feel like all that needs to be addressed through the draft. And I have nothing against Justin Fields. I think that he's an extraordinary talent. I honestly, I'm probably 50-50 on the Chicago Bears keeping him, even though I feel like, it probably would be a smart choice. But there's so many different scenarios. Like, Chicago, to me, is playing with house money. Like, Chicago has a really good promising quarterback that they can use as trade bait. Let's just say, like, I'm just using this for an example. We're saying that the Atlanta Falcons need a quarterback. Who's to say that the Atlanta Falcons can't call up Chicago and say, we would like to make a trade for Justin Fields. We'll give you our first round draft pick. and Justin Fields will be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Or, Tampa can call him up, and Tampa can be like, hey, we'd like to make a trade for you for Justin Fields. You can have our first round pick. Like I said, they're playing with house money almost. Like, they have a really good quarterback already. They can take a chance and try to go after Caleb Williams, which is they got the top pick. So right now, Chicago can keep the quarterback that they have, right? And draft, a number one player. Or they could trade him to somebody that's a contender or somebody that's a promising team and draft Caleb Williams. Like, Chicago is in a really good situation right now. Like, really good. They can get 2 top 10 picks, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think they already got 2 top picks because they got Carolina's number 1 pick, and they're pretty bad in their own right, so they got a top 10 pick. And then if you were to, let's just say, for example, if you were to trade Justin Fields, you'll still have 2 number 1 picks. If you don't trade Justin Fields, you still have a number 1 pick. So to me, they winning regardless. They winning. Mickey Loomis, 200 wins, 151 losses. Dennis Allen going to pass him in losses. Let's see. I'm glad children and Cam were not injured last night. There was a shooting last night outside of one of Cam's shoe giveaways. Yeah, I heard about that, man. That's sad. Cam trying to do something for the community, man, the kids out there, and then people just want to be crazy. But I'm glad nobody was injured. I'm glad nobody was hurt. I'm going to take a few more, and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. It says, Saints will not draft a quarterback. Fact, says Francisco. I definitely agree with you on that. If Dennis Allen is their head coach, again, they're not drafting one. If they get a new coach, I feel like they'll draft a quarterback. Name QBs from free agency that has one outside of Stafford and Brady in recent years. That's a good point. I mean, honestly, I couldn't really tell you. Matthew Stafford, of course. I mean, because that happened more recently, right? Tom Brady leaves New England, goes to Tampa, they win a Super Bowl. The following year, Matthew Stafford leaves Detroit, goes to Los Angeles, they win a Super Bowl. But I guess, it's more of a trend, right? Like, you see 2 instances where teams, get a new quarterback via free agency, via trade, and that team finds success. So, it's a copycat league. So people are going to start following suit. But I can't really say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's been, quarterbacks throughout the years that you can point at and say, okay, man, they've done that. I mean, Drew Brees is one of them. Drew Brees, the Saints signed them in free agency or whatever. A couple of years later, they win a Super Bowl. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's kind of rare air there, and I'm pretty sure, like, if you look at it throughout time, I'm pretty sure you can find some more, quarterbacks that have went to teams. But to be honest with you, for the most part, the quarterbacks that have been to the Super Bowl consistently have been drafted by their team. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Jared Goff. I agree with what you're saying, because here's the thing. When you have a quarterback, and you draft them, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just say the Bengals did it, did it the right way. Philly did it the right way. Kansas City did it the right way. But here's the thing. You have 3 quarterbacks that were on rookie deals, right? So you were able to build a team around them, and you were able to win that way, right? When it came to the Rams, it was the same way, because Jared Goff was on his rookie deal as well. So you were able to put pieces around them. When you have a quarterback that's in free agency, coming in, that's established, is more impressive, in my opinion, because that person is going to demand a certain amount of money and a certain percentage of the cap, but you still put pieces around them. See, what helped Tampa was Tampa had time, but a lot of their core players were like on rookie deals, and you also had like some of those veterans that were willing to take minimal money because of Tom Brady being on the team. So sometimes you can get away with those, but for the most part, a lot of these players, they end up like being drafted by their team. And another person I think that you got to consider is Peyton Manning too, if I'm not mistaken. Like Peyton Manning also left the Indianapolis Colts, went to the Denver Broncos and won the Super Bowl. But I mean, that was mostly because of the players around him. I mean, Peyton Manning was pretty much washed at that time. Like, Denver had like a lights out defense. But to me, if you're asking me, if you're asking me this question, K Dot, what I'm saying, how would I do it? I would want to draft my own quarterback. Like I would want to draft my own quarterback and build around him, because I feel like that's sustainable success. If you can hit with a quarterback, you're talking about 12 to 15 years of stability, right? You're talking about 12 to 15 years of stability if pending injury, right? So that's a long time right there. So I definitely would want to draft a quarterback before I sign one, right? So that's the way I look at it. Exactly. TJ got to draft them to win nowadays. I agree. Like I'm y'all know me, man. I am a firm believer in building through the draft. I feel like building through the draft gives you more long-term success. I think that if you're just basically buying players and buying football mercenaries, it's gonna catch up with you. Like I think that Miami, they need to start winning right now, because and you there's only so much you can do with hiring mercenaries. So it's okay with hiring minimal mercenaries, but it's also important for your team to be draft heavy. You know what I'm saying? Like, consist of players that you drafted and developed within your system. I feel like that's going to give you sustainable success. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody that's listening and watching this right now. Shouts out to everybody that commented. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Also, you can check out me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at TJAYJones8. Enjoy the rest of your morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who dat?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.